Dumelang, Dumelang, Dumelang. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, traders around the world. How you guys doing? I hope you guys are good. Um, Today we're just gonna. I'm just gonna. Let me just jump onto this, and then we'll see what to do there. So, this is today's, this week's market outlook, right? We don't really have a lot of news. We don't really have a lot of major news, especially on the dollar. So as you can see, on Monday, it's going to be a quiet Monday. It's a holiday in the UK on the 26th of August, which is tomorrow. So we don't really have much there. I think the market will start picking up in the US session, right? So there isn't really much there on the market. So the market will stabilize in the US session. And on Tuesday, almost the same thing, pretty much the same, right? And then we have major news on the dollar, sorry, around 4 p.m. my time, right? And then other news, this will be the CPI for the Aussie dollar, right? But yeah, pretty much the same. Basically the same type of news. Thursday we have preliminary GDP for the dollar and unemployment claims, right? I guess you all know how to trade unemployment claims. We always want for us to have a positive dollar and unemployment claims, actual has to be more than the forecast. Then we will have actual should be less than the forecast, because we want unemployment to be less than, we want unemployment to be low. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's about it. So but you can see there isn't really much. I think on Friday, that's when we have quite a lot of news on the CAD, on the US dollar, on the euro. So yeah, that's about it. But today I'm just gonna touch base on how to trade crude oil, right? I'm just gonna show you a strategy on how to trade crude oil. What you need to know is there's like many types of crude oil, right? But the most popular ones are the WTI, which is the US crude oil, or it's also known as Western Texas intermediate or something. WTI is Western Texas because it's mostly produced in the western side of the US, which is around the Texas area, North Dakota, and all those places, right? So this one is the one which is known as the US crude oil, right? And then the second one, the most popular one, is the US crude oil, and the Brent crude oil. The Brent crude oil, which is mostly from the North Sea, right? Which is mostly from the North Sea. It's also known as the UK oil, right? So if you look at most brokers, they have the US oil, which is your crude oil, and they also have the Brent crude oil, right? And across board, the Brent crude oil is more expensive than the US oil, but they move in the same direction. They are positively correlated. What I'm trying to say is, if US crude oil is buying, Brent crude oil should also be buying. If Brent crude oil is selling, we also expect the US crude oil to be selling, right? And what you also need to know is this is what you should know. The dollar, right? We all know that crude oil is bought in dollars, in barrels. Barrels are measured in, you buy crude oil in dollars. All countries around the world, they need to convert their currencies to dollars so that they can buy crude oil, right? So the dollar and crude oil and crude oil are negatively correlated, or negatively what? Negatively correlated, meaning or inversely correlated. Inversely. Is that how you pronounce it? Inversely correlated, right? Meaning this is just a fancy word. Sorry about that. Correlated, right? Meaning they have a negative relationship. If the dollar is strong, basically you need a few dollars to buy crude oil. So what I'm trying to say is, if the dollar is strong, strong dollar, let me just say strong dollar equals cheap crude oil. You understand what I'm saying? Cheap crude oil, right? So and then weak dollar means you need a lot of dollars to buy oil. Do you see how simple this thing is, guys? Equals expensive what? Expensive. Is that how you spell? Expensive crude oil, right? Expensive crude oil. So the dollar and what I would say is the dollar and crude oil are negatively correlated. Basically, if we have a weak dollar, we have expensive oil. Strong dollar, I think I've already explained that more than once. Now, if now, and what you need to know is that every Wednesday, we have crude oil inventory news, data, inventories. Every Wednesday around 4 p.m., 5-ish. Yeah, but right now, since we are currently using the summertime in Europe, the news happen at 4 p.m. Crude oil inventories, right? So this news, how you can use them to trade crude oil is the fact that if actual inventories, right? If actual inventories are more than the actual, it means what? It's positive news for what? It's positive news for the dollar. Actual inventories are more than if actual inventories are more than more than the actual data, actual more than the forecast. Actual more than the forecast. What am I saying? Focus. The boss, focus. Actual more than the forecast. It's positive news. It's good for the currency. Which currency? This time, the dollar, right? It means basically what this means is you are going to need fewer dollars to buy oil. Basically, what it means is when actual inventories are more than the actual, it means there is a lot of supply for oil, and vice versa. If the actual is more, it makes the dollar now to be weak. So then the price of crude oil does what? The price of crude oil will shoot up. Do you know what I'm saying? So if now you look at forexfactory.com and then you come here, then you go to inventories, right? Then you go to the news are every Wednesday. every Wednesday at, actually it's 4:30, not 4, right? Every Wednesday at 4:30, not 4 p.m., right? Obviously the times will change in 2 months from now. This is like around October or something like that. Around end of October, the times will switch to 4:30. The news, the crude oil inventories will be around 5:30. So now, if you look at the previous news, this is what has been happening. You see, usual effect, actual less than the forecast. Actual less than the forecast is good for the currency. Did I say the same thing previously? Actual less than the forecast is good for the currency. Which currency? The dollar. It means the price of crude oil is just gonna, it's gonna go up because the dollar will be strong. You know what I'm saying? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say here. If actual is more than the forecast, if actual is more, like here, you see, it's been green. The whole of August, it's all been green. So actual is less than the forecast. So it's good for what? It's good for the dollar. And when it's good for the dollar, it makes the dollar to be strong. And then what happens to the price of crude oil? It drops. But prior to that, around June, July, May, the whole of, actually from around June, the price of crude oil was going was helter-skelter, going all the way up. Why? Because actual was more than the forecast. When you see all this red means actual is more than the forecast. I guess you know that, for example, if you look at April, actually, what am I saying? August 21st, right? 2024. Actual is less than the forecast. You all know that minus 4.6 million barrels or whatever is less than minus 2 point whatever. So when it's like that, it's positive news for the what? For the dollar. Hence, it makes the dollar to be strong, and then the price of gold goes where? It goes up. The demand goes up. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's just how it works. If you look here, if you look at this one, when the actual is more than the forecast, it means what? It weakens the dollar. And when the dollar is weak, the price of crude oil goes up. That's why the past couple of months, the price of oil has been going up. You see, there is more red than green. So basically, the barrels, the inventories are what make the price of oil to either go up or down, depending on if you look here, just check. I guess you can see the whole of August from around the whole of August and July. You see, the price of crude oil has just. This is actually not the price of crude oil. Focus, man. If you look here, this is the price of crude oil. It's been selling like crazy. You see, from here, this is around July. It was selling. Actually, the whole of August, it was selling, going all the way down because the inventories were less than the forecast. The actual inventories were less than the forecast, making the dollar to be weak, to be strong, and then pushing the price of oil down. Remember, a strong dollar makes the price of oil to be weak. And if you look at the previous month, this is from around here, the price of, I guess you get the logic. You get the logic of what I'm trying to say. All this, obviously, this was also price action. This had been dropping all the way to here, reached a support, then it pushed all the way up. From there, it went all the way down. So basically, what you need to know from how the strategy works is, if the price, what determines the price of oil is basically the strength of the dollar. and the inventories. If the inventory, this comes out every Wednesday. If the inventories are more than what is expected, they make the dollar to be weak, and then the price of crude oil goes up. If the inventories are less than what is expected, what does that mean? I've prepared something here. If the inventories are, like if you look here, this is what I'm saying. This is what I am saying. What does a negative crude oil inventory mean? If the increase in crude oil inventories exceeds expectations, meaning implies strong supply and a negative signal for oil price. I hope this is not going to confuse you even more. But with that said, that's how the strategy for crude oil works. Do you understand what I'm saying? So yeah, that's that. So we can end it here for tonight. All the best in the new week. Make some money, focus, and also you should know that patience is key. Make sure you use proper risk management. Make sure you also focus on how price is moving so that you get clear setups. You know what I'm saying? So as you can see, this thing has also been crashing down. Right now, it's trying to, after this head and shoulders formed, now we just basically need just a bit of a pullback, and we expect this to go all the way up. Just a repetition of what happened here. Right? You can see after price, if you jump onto the H4, after price dropped, you see, after price shot all the way down to here, went up to there, came back down here. This is just all pure price action, which is also driven by the what? By the data for the crude oil inventories, right? So this will be your US oil. And if you go to Brent crude, you should also see basically the same thing. It's more like a copy and paste, right? Remember, I told you this will be Brent crude oil. They move in the same direction, but the prices are just a bit different. Brent crude is slightly more expensive compared to US crude oil. But you know, they serve the same purpose. That's where we get our gasoline, our petrol, a diesel, all sorts of things. Your paraffin, your what. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but with that said, with those few words, I would just like to say all the best for the new week. I know I don't post these things as much as I could, or as much as I should, due to time constraints. There's so many things that we are doing. We are busy with this and that, and if you want a bit of mentorship, you can you reach out to our admin, and she will assist you. So I guess, or should I say my business partner. So with that said, let me just call it a night or call it a day. All the best for the new week. Let's keep making money. Let's keep pushing. Let's focus. Let's, motivate others. There's no such thing that motivates forex traders like the market itself, because you are just looking at, every time you see candlesticks, you see money. Every time you see bullish, bearish candlesticks, had I gotten into this trade, I would have made money. But you shouldn't, shoot yourself in the foot. Just know that there will always be other opportunities in the market, so long as you wait and you are patient and you know when to pull the trigger. Right? Pull the trigger when you see a perfect setup. Right? So yeah, all the best for the new week. God bless and happy new week. Adios, amigos.